to another episode of the Bottom of the Stream Movie Show. My name is Adam.
My name's Nick.
Mick? Who the fuck's Mick?
I couldn't speak.
Get out of here, Mick. Bring Nick back.
My tongue was tied.
Oh, Nick's got his name wrong in the first 10 seconds of the episode. It's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be. Do you know what? I was thinking about my next sentence and forgot about
Your name.
how I could actually speak and carry on the current sentence.
Oh, that's made my day.
Because I was thinking, ahoy's a really apt thing because this week we're talking about a movie that's all about boats and shit.
We're on boats and captains and sailors and stuff. We're right in our own wheelhouse. Because this week we're watching a film called All at Sea if you're in America or Britain or Norway. But if you're in America, it's called The Deep Blue Yonder.
Yeah. What's a better title?
All at Sea.
I think so as well.
Because it's always like a pun a little bit as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're all at sea when you're all discombobulated.
Sure.
And that's what he is in this film. It was released in 2010. It is a 12A. It currently runs for 1 hour and 28 minutes, and it always has. And it's currently rated a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb. Thoughts on 5.8?
Yeah, I think that's not a million miles away.
Yeah, it sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Higher end for what we do.
Yeah. I do wonder though if some of that rating is down to the cast and the cast alone.
Don't get me wrong, nobody's watched it. There's like 300 ratings on there.
That surprises me.
Yeah, it's
because
literally...
there are quite some big names in this movie.
There really are. It's really weird. There's like it barely has any sort of internet presence.
Yeah.
And there's only 316 ratings on IMDb.
That's really low.
Yeah, it's really low. People just don't know it exists, I don't think.
Yeah. Weird.
Very weird. It stars a guy called Brian Cox. Brian Cox plays Wally. Brian Cox has been on this show before.
He has.
He was in The Anomaly.
What a movie.
The worst movie we've ever seen.
It's right up there.
It's definitely right up there. I think it is. I think as a movie, I think it's the worst movie we've ever seen. Does that make sense? We've seen more boring films and we've seen worse, badly made films.
I don't know if I'd put it the worst. It is one of the worst experiences.
I think it's the worst. Brian Cox, you'll know, he's currently stars in a show called Succession.
He does.
I've not seen it, but it's apparently really good. He's in some of the X-Men films. He's in Troy. He's in The Anomaly. He's in loads of stuff.
Yeah.
He was the original Hannibal Lecter.
He was. Manhunter.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was good.
He was
really good in that.
Yeah, it's a good film.
I think Brian Cox is an interesting character because he's worked really solidly the last 20 years or so.
Yeah.
And I know Manhunter was, kind of in hindsight was a bigger thing than at the time.
Yeah.
But I always kind of feel like when, for example, Brian Cox turned up in X-Men, people are like, oh, the legendary Brian Cox. I was kind of a bit,
Who's Brian Cox?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He's a good actor.
He's a great actor. But he's a really good, he can play all sorts of different parts as well. He's not like stereotyped into one particular role.
Yeah.
So like this role is nothing like his role in Succession, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, he's very good at what he does. This film also stars a guy called James Fox. He plays a character called George. James Fox is the father of Lawrence Fox, but we can't really blame him for that. It's not his fault. He was in...
He could have jizzed in a rag instead.
Well, he pretty much did. Fuck you, Lawrence Fox. He's in the late Sherlock Holmes film with Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. He's in those. He's in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Plays one of Violet Beauregard's dad. No, the other girl. What's her
You're the Roald Dahl person.
What's her name? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, plays the spoiled brat. Plays her dad. He's also in Sexy Beast. Lauren Bacall is also in this film.
Oh yeah. She's kind of a big deal.
She's a very big deal. Not so much in this film. It's more of a bit part side character, love interest, I guess. She plays a character called May.
Yeah, I mean it's the kind of role where you go, holy shit, that's Lauren Bacall.
Yeah, you don't really understand why that's Lauren Bacall.
Yeah. She's just having a good time with her friends, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Lauren Bacall died in 2014, aged 89. She was famously married to Humphrey Bogart until his death.
Yeah.
She was also engaged to Frank Sinatra for a little while.
Sure.
She was an original member of the original Brat Pack. She lived in the building where John Lennon was shot when John Lennon was shot and heard the gunshot, but dismissed it as a car backfiring. And she's worked consistently. Well, she did work consistently for 60 years, but only ever had one Oscar nomination.
Oh, really?
Yep. Which was Mirror Has Two Faces in 1996. So right towards the end of her career.
When Hollywood went, oh shit.
Shit, we've not given Lauren Bacall. She never won it. She never won an Oscar.
Yeah, but we've not even got a
the only
nomination.
one Oscar nomination. But the more interesting fact about the Oscars is that she never appeared in a film that was nominated for Best Picture.
Really?
I think that blew my mind when I found that out.
That is a good fact.
I thought that was a really interesting fact. Yeah, she never appeared in a film that was nominated for Best Picture. Director. The director is a guy called Robert Young. He directed Fierce Creatures. He also directed Jane Eyre in the 90s. That's probably the most famous things he's ever done.
Okay, so they're pretty big movies.
Yeah. 90s staples, I guess.
Not huge, but I'm aware of both of those.
I texted you last night to ask you if I could tell a joke about the writer, and I don't know if I can bring myself to do it. The writer's called Hugh Janus. That's his actual name. I presume it's pronounced Janes. It's Janes. Hugh Janes.
Is he real?
Yes.
Okay.
They worked together again, this writer and director, just after this film.
Okay.
And they made Ghost Ship in 2014, which is also sea-based, but is completely different to this film. So, but he's a playwright. He wrote plays, and this film was based on one of his original plays.
Okay, that makes sense.
This play debuted on the West End and starred Eric Sykes in the
I
lead role.
can see this as a play, now you've said that, with a bit more. I think if you're doing this on the stage, you up the sort of farce element.
Yeah.
I can see Eric Sykes playing this.
Yeah,
lead
absolutely.
Character,
you can see where it's
Yep.
originated from. This film was filmed in 2007.
Oh, wow.
So it was 3 years. It ran out of money twice during the production.
Okay.
And 2 different producers went bankrupt during the production.
That's really
which is
interesting.
Why this film is known as an Anglo-Norwegian film, because it was rescued by a Norwegian production company. Oh. So it was filmed in 2007. It was shown at the Norway Film Festival in 2010, and then at Cannes in 2011, but was only finally released. IMDb has this as a release as 2010.
It does, yeah.
Because that's when it was shown at the Norway Film Festival. It wasn't actually released to the public until 2012, and only then in Norway.
5 years after it was
5 years after it was shot. It was then released on a limited release production in America in 2014.
Oh, really?
7 years after it was shot. The budget for this film was $7 million.
Okay.
The gross worldwide box office was 87,000.
That is crazy.
A Lauren Bacall movie that was released 7 years after it was shot and only ever made $87,000.
Snuck out there then.
That's what I mean. Nobody knows this film exists until now.
What a weird little story.
Strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really weird that this little Norwegian production, it was being filmed in Norway. It was filmed in Norway.
Yeah.
So this Norwegian production company just came along and went, we'll give you whatever money you need to finish it.
I mean, and this movie is not backwards about coming forwards that it is filmed in Norway. This is about Norwegian people. This is very much partly an advert for Norway. And it looks beautiful, to be fair.
Everybody in this film's playing a Norwegian, apart from Lauren Bacall, who's playing an American.
Yeah. Well, that might be something that I'm going to point out.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be set and filmed in Norway, just with American and English actors.
Yeah.
It's a very strange film that had a very strange history. And again, it took 7 years to get released.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy. Do you have a one-word review?
Where's Wally?
Nice. I'm pretty sure that gets said at one point during the film.
Probably.
Because he goes missing quite a lot. Where does this film start, Nick?
Skip Sorensen is dead.
He is. Rest in peace, Skip Sorensen.
We get a voiceover telling us this.
Yeah, Brian Cox is doing his voiceover.
He is. And he is telling us that we are in Norway.
Yep.
We're in a small fishing village. And smuggling's cool.
It is.
And Brian Cox's character, Wally, does some smuggling.
He does. That's what they do.
There's kind of like a fisherman's mafia in this small town, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a guy called Arn. He's like the mafia boss.
Yeah.
And all these old dudes are living out their days in this beautiful Norwegian fishing village, avoiding the harbour master.
Which is quite an easy thing to do, is what we're told.
This is a very UK-based reference that I'm about to throw out here. But this movie is basically Last of the Summer Wine, but on boats.
It is exactly that. That's a great shout. That is a great shout. It is exactly that. It's old men just living out there, enjoying the remainder of their days and getting into hijinks. The fact that they're smugglers after the title card hits never gets mentioned once.
No.
Again during the rest of the film.
We see Wally sort of delivering bottles of contraband around the village quite early on.
Yeah.
And then that plot point's out the window.
Yeah, we're done with that plot point.
Until we need the Harbour Master right at the end for the climax of the movie.
So he mentions the Harbour Master's easy to avoid. They literally put a tarp over the boat and he doesn't see it.
Yeah.
So he lives in a retirement home, old Wally does.
He does.
And he mentions that he doesn't know how long he's lived there for, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, so like, are we saying that like this movie taking a laissez-faire attitude to mental illness or dementia or
maybe,
because it is pointed out and then again never really mentioned. He's just a fun old guy after that, isn't he?
Yeah. He lived there with Skip in the same room as Skip, who was his old captain, he said.
Yeah.
When he was a sailor back in the day. Brian Cox is playing an old retired sailor, basically, is what's happening in this film called Wally. And he sneaks out when he wants to do his smuggling. He sneaks out at night and he sneaks back in through the window. But this morning he goes back in and there's nobody there.
Oh, just before that, so we get the aforementioned montage of them sort of hiding the boat, and then Wally goes and delivers all these contraband. Did you see Brian Cox have a fight with his jumper?
No, I don't think I did.
When they bring the boat in at the start in this montage.
Oh yeah, and he can't. Yeah, I did.
And they bring the door down on the shed, the boathouse, whatever it's called. It's just off the side of the corner of the screen because you're supposed to be watching this hive of activity as they're unloading the boat. Brian Cox just really struggles to take this jumper off, and it really made me laugh.
Yeah, I did see that actually. Now you've mentioned it.
And then it made me. Then my next thought was, we're in Norway. Everyone's Norwegian. Most of the cast is Norwegian / Scandinavian. Yeah. Why is Brian Cox Scottish?
Yeah, it's true.
And it made me think. You know, this is a harsh thing to think, but I'm like, well, if you're such a good actor, why are you Scottish? Why are you being Scottish?
It's true.
Just. Are you not being paid enough to at least try and do an accent?
To be Norwegian.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just an old retired Scottish seafarer that's ended up in Norway.
Yeah, is the director like, well, no, you're Brian Cox, just do your
be Brian
voice.
Cox, yeah. Maybe.
I don't know.
He's a seaman.
It's the old Sean Connery thing in Hunt for Red October, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
The Scottish-Russian submarine captain.
Anyway, as I said, he gets back home to the home and there's nobody there. It's completely deserted. Except for this one lady who for me is the highlight of this film. Actually.
Is this the horny old lady?
Yeah, she's just brilliant.
Yeah,
but she says, "Oh, I thought you'd be at the funeral," and he's like, "Funeral?
Gadzooks, I'm late.
I'm late for the funeral." And it's Skip's. He's missing Skip's funeral because he wasn't made aware that Skip was having a funeral because he only died yesterday. And there's a joke where she's like, "Yeah, he's part Jewish."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, okay." Basically, he interrupts his funeral and he screams, "Stop this sham!" as he gets there. And it seems that the home have rushed this funeral through because they know that Wally's going to cause a scene.
So the manager of the old people's home is in charge of this funeral.
Yeah.
She's organised it because there was a gap in the schedule.
So she says. But it feels like they were trying to... Wally is convinced that Skip would have wanted to be buried at sea.
Yeah.
And so he's like... In his opinion, they're trying to get him in the ground before Wally can cause a stink about him being buried at sea. Yeah. Because there's too much admin.
Because he says, yeah, that's what Skip told me he wanted.
Yeah. And he says he only died yesterday and he would have hated this. And then he puts his fist through the coffin.
He does. He punches the coffin.
Punches the coffin and his fist goes straight through it.
And he apologises to Skip.
Yeah,
and we get a Skip cam.
Yeah.
So we're the dead body.
Yeah.
Looking at.
He looks in. He's like,
Wally.
"Sorry, Skip." And then the vicar falls in the grave.
Yeah.
It got a bit carry on at some points, this film, didn't it? The vicar accidentally falls in the grave.
No one helps him.
No one helps him. And so they just cancel the funeral because the vicar's fell in the grave. And then the pallbearers help him by using the ropes that you lower a coffin into a grave with to get him out.
Yeah.
They basically put them under him and raise him up out of the grave.
At Westlife.
It was a very strange scene, I thought that.
It was manic.
Yeah.
Unlike the rest of this quite quaint movie.
Yeah, it felt very carry on.
Yeah.
The soundtrack's very carry on all the way through.
I'm glad you mentioned the soundtrack straight away.
Good.
I didn't feel the score fit with this what I was seeing on the screen.
It didn't at all. If you imagine a carry on film soundtrack with like penny whistles and shit like that, it was all that sort of shit, wasn't it? Like 80s
Yeah, and I thought it was a poor edit. I didn't like the score, and there was times where I'm like, why the fuck is that music so loud? I'm trying to listen to what it's saying.
Yeah.
Well, now you've said the difficulties of this movie coming together, I do wonder, was this kind of... Was it a stock thing? I don't know.
It's possibly been edited very quickly together at the end.
It didn't work with the movie.
No, it didn't. It made it seem like it was trying to be more funny than it actually was.
Yeah, it was like a jaunty. Entire times there was a real like jaunty comedy-ness.
Yeah, jaunty
to it.
farce. It was.
Yeah.
And that's not what this film. This film tries to be that a couple of times, but it isn't that. It's a really strange.
It was out of kilter with the movie.
So the pallbearers pick the vicar out of the grave. They lie him in the back of a hearse, as if he's.
Yeah, the vicar goes in the hearse.
The vicar goes in the hearse, and
the coffin doesn't.
Yeah, and Wally ends up on his own with Skip's coffin. Everybody else just leaves, which is the one thing they didn't want, but they've let him do. And he says to Skip, "Look, I'll promise you, I'll get you to see.
Yeah,
it will happen. I promise." And then did he hitch a ride back to town, or he got a lift back to town?
It's off screen, but basically Wally's convinced someone in the town in their pickup truck to help him load the coffin into the back of the truck.
Yeah, and then he turns back up in town,
and Wally gets in the back of it.
Yeah.
Because he's got to stop in town and pick up some steak.
Yeah, for dinner. It's all very disjointed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit. We briefly meet Nina, who was Skip's niece.
Yes.
And she was helping Wally do all the contraband drop-offs earlier.
Yeah, she's like head smuggler.
She's the wheelman.
She wasn't Skip's niece. She's the niece of the mafia boss man.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Arn.
Sorry, my mistake.
And she's got like a friend called Owen. I think was it Owen's truck?
I don't know.
I think it was Owen's truck. So they're your young assistant characters in this old people film. Then we meet a new resident who's just about to move into the home. This is George.
Yep.
James Fox's character. He moves into his nice new room where all of his priceless antiques have been put ready for him to move in.
Yeah, George, a good Norwegian name. He might have been playing British. He was an ex-army person.
Yeah, he was.
He may have just found himself in Norway. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
People retire to Norway, surely. But unfortunately, he's got as he moves into his room, there's a leak develops.
He gets taken away to have his induction, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And upon his return to his new quarters, it's raining inside.
Yes, there's a big hole in his ceiling, and it's raining all over his stuff, which is not a good first impression for this home.
No, not really.
It turns out the old man upstairs is in the bath, and he's left the taps running.
Yeah. And was this weird or what? Because the manager of the old people's home, is it Rymark?
Rymark, yeah.
She goes upstairs to find out where's this water coming from. Opens the door. There's this old dude in the bath.
Yeah.
There's like a joke where she's like, "Oh, I'm looking at your junk."
Yeah, there is, because he uses his book to cover himself up.
And she like gives him a bit of a wink. I was like, this is not appropriate.
You're right. There was. It was a very strange, because that again doesn't happen during the rest of the film. She's no interest in these old people, but it was a bit strange.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "You're never having a bath unsupervised again," as if she's going to watch him every time he has a bath. It was really, really weird. So she says to George, "Look, come with me to the lounge where all the old people sit.
We'll sort your room.
We'll sort your room out while you're there." So she introduced him to May. This is the first time we meet Lauren Bacall's character. They instantly fall in love.
I think that's strong. I'd never thought that anyone fell in.
No, they're not in love, but they instantly bond very.
There's
quickly.
like a half-assed attempt, which we'll get to, like a love triangle as well. But I thought this movie pulled out before it went full in on the love triangle.
Yeah, you're right. It did. That's probably because it's how do you do that sort of thing with Lauren Bacall? But anyway, they chat. They hit it off. They hit it off. They get to know each other. She says she's the only Texas girl to meet an oil man from Norway. Yeah. That's why she's there. She's an American. Because she's like, I'm like 80 something. I'm not doing accents.
Yeah. Why couldn't we have a line like that for? I know I'm nitpicking.
Yeah.
Unless I missed it, I would have liked a line like that to explain why this Scottish guy was.
Yeah. I think that's fair. It's going to take a week for George's room to be fixed.
I think that's a good turnaround, given the state of it.
Considering it hadn't got a ceiling anymore. And there's only one spare bed in the whole place because Skip's just died.
Yeah.
So the spare bed is in Wally's room with Wally.
It's an odd couple situation.
It really is, yeah. 2 little twin beds. So George has got to move in there for a week. Wally goes to meet the Undertaker.
Yes.
Not the wrestler, the character in this
the
film.
funeral director.
And he says, look, sea burials are really complicated. There's a lot of paperwork you have to go through.
Yes.
And they're really, really expensive because you have to get all the right stuff.
Permits, you need a boat, you need a crew. I can do it for you. Gonna cost you 100,000 kroner.
Yeah. Wally doesn't have any sort of money.
No.
Literally any money. And he comes home and he finds George unpacking in his room. So he's having a pretty bad
really
day. He's not happy about that. And then, so he goes to see Reinhard.
This was really weird as well.
Yeah, it was. I'd almost forgotten it, so I've just read it there, but it was really weird.
This might come up again. I feel quite sorry for the character of Rymark.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of the time in this movie, I don't think she does anything wrong.
No.
And she's almost victimized by some of these
she's definitely
inhabitants of the home.
She's definitely supposed to be the bad guy in this film.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily.
But she's just trying to manage the place
very well. She's just trying to manage her home, and all these like old people are acting like kids, trying to disrupt her job.
Like a lot of the time, the old people are just twats.
Yeah.
To be frank.
Yeah.
And this is a really weird scene because Wally goes to say, "Oh, I'm not happy. This guy's moved into my room.
Bed, yeah.
I don't know him. I don't like him." And she's like, "Well, it's the only place. Its room's being fixed.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to deal with it," which I think is fair enough. And then she offers him a sedative.
Yeah, she gives him a pill to calm him down. Okay,
that's a bit dubious, but he spits it out, and then he Nazi salutes at her.
Yeah, he does.
I was like, "Ooh, I'm not sure about that."
As if she's like Hitler or something. I think her character maybe should have been a lot more. If you want her to be the bad guy,
you need to go like full on
you need
Nurse
to make her the
Ratched.
bad guy. Yeah, exactly. And they don't. I think that's what they were going for, but I don't think they quite managed it.
Yeah.
But she does say to him, "We've rearranged Skip's funeral, and it's the day after tomorrow."
Yeah.
So, and he's going in the ground. It's basically what she says. So you've got a day to get it, whatever you want to do, get it sorted. You have the obligatory. They're both asleep, and one of them snoring, keeping the other one awake.
Wally snores, and then he gets up and pisses in the sink.
Yep. See his nice arse
right next to
George's face.
He farts in his face.
He does fart in his face.
I was quite surprised as well with this movie at the low level of humour.
Yeah,
I'm
really
not saying
low
I'm
level.
a classy guy, don't get me wrong.
It's really low level.
But literally, there's a lot of fart jokes in this movie. And I was like, oh, right, I wasn't expecting that.
It's again, slapstick,
is not
carry on humour.
Sophisticated comedy.
It should have been Sid James and Barbara Windsor. It shouldn't be Lauren Bacall and Brian Cox. That's for definite. It's really weird. George wakes up the next morning and he cleans the sink.
He does,
He just bleaches the sink. He's a very tidy man. And then he accidentally discovers Skip's will.
George does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so May brings Wally some toast.
Yeah.
Because he's too lazy to get out of bed.
And they're not allowed food in their room.
Yeah.
So she sneaks him some toast.
And she gives it to George to give to Wally.
Because Wally's still asleep.
Unfortunately, Rymark turns up.
Yeah.
Catches George with the toast. Tells him off for having food in his room. And yes, George, when trying to wake up Wally, because there's a bell above his bed.
Like a ship's bell.
Wonders why the bell doesn't ring very loudly. And he finds the last will and testament of Skip Sorensen.
Skip Sorensen. So he must have been Norwegian. With a name like that.
Yeah.
But then he accidentally sticks it to the bottom of the plate of toast.
Yeah, because he hides it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
No, nor do I. He didn't want her to have it.
In fact, this was really weird as well, because I was like, we're going to get a whole adventure of, he's lost the will. How will we get it back?
Yeah.
No.
Got
bored of that idea as well.
Yeah, straight away. So he accidentally sticks it to the plate of toast. Right? What's her name? Reinhard.
Rymark.
Right. Where did I get Reinhard from? Rymark takes it off him, takes it back to the kitchen. The toast gets chucked in the bin. So does the will. George goes to the kitchen and gets it out of the bin.
Yeah, and that's it.
And that's it. We've got the will back. But we never see it again until like much later on in the film. It's not like he takes it straight back upstairs and gives it to Wally.
No.
He just doesn't.
It's mentioned later on that Rymark's got the will. Yeah. And I was like, did we see that?
No.
We didn't, did we?
George betrayed him by giving it to her.
But we didn't see that, did we?
Didn't see that happen. No, we never see the will again.
Yeah. Messy. Yeah.
Wally goes to see, I've written an old mate, but it's like, it's
the head of the fisherman
mafia.
Arn.
Arn. Who, they seem to be friendly. They seem to have a friendship.
They've had a working relationship for a number of years, I would suggest.
And he asks him to loan him some money. But he's like, I'll loan you some money if you want some money, but you need some collateral.
Yeah. I'm a businessman.
Which he's not got. Wally doesn't own anything. While this is all going on, there's a party going on at the home.
It's a setup for the grand opening of the new summer house.
Yes.
At the old people's home.
Yeah. So the managing director of the company that owns the summer home, the people's homes, turns up to open this new summer house.
The Coast Guard turn up.
Yeah.
I don't know
for
why.
Some free food.
But they're here.
But Rymark says, I don't want Wally in his room during this event.
Yeah, everyone's locked out of their rooms.
Yeah, so lock his room. Yeah. Lock him out of his room.
I want him where I can see him.
I want to keep an eye on him, basically. But Wally's got a spare key hidden in a toilet.
He's got a whole rack of keys.
Yeah.
Presumably, again, this is questionable.
Goes out at night and stuff, but he hides them in the
hidden
toilet.
in a cistern, yeah.
So he just... Again, I thought that was going to be a whole thing of how does he get back in his room, but again, he finds the key and goes straight back into his room. And Wally and May have a little side party of their own.
Yeah, they basically nick a load of the food from the garden party.
And the steaks that he found earlier.
Yeah.
And they've got like a oven.
You've got a hot plate.
They've got a hot plate, but it's massive.
It is big. We are talking 2007.
Yeah, true.
Hot plates come on a lot.
In that short amount of time?
Yeah, why not?
15 years ago, it's not a short time. So they start cooking steaks in their room. They're having a little wake for Skip, I guess, just the two of them. And then George comes in. So there's the three of them now. And we find out at this point now as well, Rymark and the managing director are having a chat.
Yeah.
And he wants Wally out.
He says, we're running a business.
Yeah.
We need to make a return for our shareholders.
Yeah.
You know, you do a good job.
Yeah.
This is an expensive home. We charge a lot of money.
Yeah.
But there's one bed that is not returning on its investment.
Yeah. He doesn't pay.
Yeah.
He's the only resident now who doesn't pay for his room.
Yeah, we don't know
why, but he doesn't.
And that's Wally.
Yeah, that's Wally. So Wally's got to go. This MD doesn't like him. We go back to this party that George, May and Wally are having. They start having a dance between the three of them.
There's a bit of a flirty thing, isn't there? Yeah. And Wally uses George's shoe to tenderise the steak.
Yeah. There's a bit of a love-hate relationship forming between George and Wally, but ultimately they
have a weird three-way dance.
They do. It's really strange.
Where I don't think I'd ever thought I'd say this. James Fox and Brian Cox sandwich Lauren Bacall.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened in a little dance thing.
Weird now I think about it. More than I thought of it at the time, actually.
It's really strange.
Yeah. Almost a little bit creepy.
This woman was married to Humphrey Bogart. It is very strange. Then the steaks catch fire.
Yeah, because they're so busy doing this little dance sandwich, they forget about the steaks on the hot plate.
The smoke alarm goes off, and the fire brigade turn up within 10 seconds?
Instantly,
as if they were waiting outside.
They're probably like, fucking hell, there's a party going on. You invite the Coast Guard. You didn't invite us.
Maybe they were there.
How did they even get there?
Maybe that's how they got there so quick.
Yeah, but the fire engines definitely drove up the drive. I was like, where did the Coast Guard even park the boat?
Yeah. It was really weird.
I'd be annoyed if I was a fireman.
Same. But they didn't check in with anybody. They went straight to exactly where the fire was. They took the hose all the way through the building. They didn't see what was going on.
And then they did the old... they were going to barge the door down, and just as they go to do it, Wally opens it, so all the firemen fall through the door.
And they make out that George was just smoking in the room.
Yeah, because they put the steak and the hot plate in a suitcase under his bed.
So there's smoke coming out, but they make out that George was just smoking. That was really weird. And then Rymark gets told off and told to get rid of Wally, basically. Look what he's done. He's ruined your big party. And then this is when we find out that George has given Rymark Skip's will.
Yeah, because George just says in an offhand comment, he says to Wally, I found Skip's will.
Yeah.
Wally doesn't know. So at first I thought, Wally knew it was there and that was where it was hidden. And that's how he knows he wanted to be buried at sea. Yeah. But that's not the case.
No,
he didn't know about this
will.
Yeah, and George says, but it's with Rymark.
Yeah.
But that's the first we know of that.
Yeah. I don't know why he gave it to her. He's not working with her. He's not. No. She's supposed to be the big bad guy, but he's just given her the will. So then I'm thinking, now Wally's got to get this will back. This is going to be the next big thing for this film. We've got to do like an adventure of how he gets into her office. No,
just
walks into her office because he's got these spare keys.
And the will says, "I give everything to my good friend Wally."
and here's the bank account. He's got a bank account.
Yeah.
There's a bank book.
35,000 kroner.
Yeah.
And he also says, I wish to be buried at sea.
Yeah, that's what the will says, which we knew.
Well, he's like, brilliant. There it is. That's his wishes. I'm onto something now.
Yeah.
Must.
So Wally, you would think Wally would just go, look, this was his last will and testament. This is his wishes. This is what we need to make happen. But he doesn't do that.
No, he takes the
bank book to this mafia boss, Arn, and tries to use that as collateral.
Arn says, I'll give you 30k
for
worth of collateral for that 35k bank book.
Yeah, because he's a businessman. And then Nina, this is where we revealed that Nina is his niece. Because he's like, look, you've got to do him a favour.
Yeah.
Help him out.
Trying to help his friend
out. But he flatly refuses. He's like, no, I'm a businessman.
It is like, he's like 70k short, to be fair.
I'm not giving this guy 100,000 corona, or whatever they're called. But then, they have a crab race.
Yeah. I feel like, did I miss it, or again, was it not in this movie? The sort of, I felt like there wasn't a conversation to the effect of, take your 30k and bet it all on this crab. No.
That conversation didn't happen.
No, good, okay.
Just
checking.
Because I was like, there's one crab race. Wally wins the race. He's not racing a crab. He's bet on a crab and wins the race.
And he's turned 30k into 100k.
Turned 30k into 100k. He's just got that money now. It's a really cheap way of giving him the money that you need.
Again, it's resolved within a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Seconds. So he takes the money to the Undertaker. He's like, right, I've got the money. Let's do it. Let's do this burial at sea. But for some reason, he still can't do it. He doesn't really give it. He's not really given a reason. He's just like, no, I'm still not doing it. It's
something like, oh no, he's getting buried tomorrow. That's done. It's all signed off. Yeah. It's agreed. Rymark's name's all over the contracts.
Yeah. When he gets back to his room, Wally,
classic odd couple.
George has put a masking tape line around the whole room,
the middle of the room,
right down the middle of the room to try and split them apart. So then they have a fight with croquet mallets.
Yeah.
George and May are outside having a game of croquet. Wally attacks him with a mallet. They don't ever hit each other. No. They're just standing off, and May eventually breaks them up. And then Rymark reveals that they found all of his hidden stuff.
Yeah.
They found his hidden keys.
And she calls a shrink in, and like Wally's like evaluated.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
And basically he
gets committed.
The judgment is
He needs to be committed. He's insane.
Just for some hijinks around town.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So they want to transfer him. They tell him that because he's now been committed, he's not allowed to leave the site.
Yeah, you're in lockdown until you can go.
The big scary nurse puts a lock on his window, so he's not allowed out the window either.
But then straight away he's outside.
Yeah.
There's this big thing about, right, you can find your room.
Yeah.
And then he's out in the garden saying goodbye to May.
Yeah. May reveals
really messy.
Yeah. May says, look, I'm going to help you escape. We're not having this. But we need George on side because George is a fiction writer. So he'll be really good at coming up with a plan.
Plus he's ex-military.
Yeah.
So he's good at the planning.
We're really good with coming up with a plan. We need George on side. George agrees straight away as if Wally was his oldest friend in the world. Yeah,
exactly. That's it. The relationship's just changed now. He says, so let me get this straight. You want me to help you break out, steal a body, find a boat, and bury Skip at sea.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in.
I'll do it.
I've always loved you.
You're my best friend. The only condition is that you have to stay on your side of the room that you're not going to be in because you've escaped.
Yeah. We then get the classic planning a heist.
Yeah.
So George talks over it as the plan is unfolding.
Yeah, this becomes a heist movie now. So George and May go to the Undertaker's office to case the joint.
Yeah, and the escape route to get the body out.
Because they have to find a way to get the body out of the Undertaker's.
Yeah. Ben makes a sea coffin.
Yeah.
That's what it's termed as. Ben, we haven't mentioned.
We haven't. I thought he was called Owen, but you're right, he is called Ben. I don't know where I got Owen from.
Is the local man that Nina fancies.
Yeah, I think
he's also the brother of the Coast Guard.
Yes. Nina gets a random windsurfing lesson from him.
Indoors.
And she's really bad, and he's like, imagine what you'd be like at sea. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, just as the scene's just dropped in there.
It's just dropped in there because we need to know later on that he's a windsurfer.
Yeah.
Wally packs a bag. He chats with the General George. I'll call him the General. They call him the General. Wally calls him the Colonel, which really makes me laugh. They have a bit of a chat, and he randomly...
they have one drink in Wally's room.
Yeah.
Instantly drop down drunk they are.
Because I was like... George falls off the bed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are these guys drunk?
Actually, it might have only had one sip of one drink.
Because I'm like, I was like, I don't think they've been drinking.
Yeah,
like,
there's no techniques used to
show
show that time has passed.
No.
And they've been partying.
But they're not acting drunk. They're not slurring their speeches or anything. They're just normal. But then George just falls off the bed and they start giggling together. And I'm like, that's really weird.
And they dance a sea shanty.
Yeah, together. They dance with each other. George says he's enjoyed their time together.
They're bonding, aren't they?
Yeah, they're bonding. And then they both fall asleep. The next morning, it's 4:30 in the morning, I think. It's really early morning. May presses her distress alert button in her room.
She does.
So the nurse comes running. This is a distraction. There was nothing wrong with May. And it enables Wally to escape through a fire escape, which George has a really clever way to disable the alarm.
Yeah.
With a piece of tinfoil.
Yeah, so he puts the tinfoil in between the door lock. So
between the sensors.
The alarm doesn't go off.
So the alarm doesn't go off. And then they have an emotional goodbye as George is about to...
Because they're best friends.
Because they're best friends. And then George accidentally knocks the tinfoil off the sensor.
Yeah, because it's on a bit of tape.
Yeah.
And the tape's still attached to George's fingers.
So he knocks it off and all the fire alarms start going off because the fire exit's been opened. And then for some reason, because that's happened, George has now got to go with Wally.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't going originally.
No.
But
now he's like, well, you have to come with me now.
Yeah. But the rest of the plan doesn't work without George being there. So he needed to be there, but he wasn't. The original plan wasn't.
Yeah, makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So Nina turns up to pick them up. And then in the very next scene, after she's picked them up, she's dangling from a massive crane.
Yeah,
in the
they've
middle
got
of the
a
town.
huge industrial construction crane in the middle of this tiny little Norwegian fishing village.
Yeah.
Right above the Undertakers. No one's going to notice that, are they?
No, apparently not.
And she is
What the
trapezing
fuck is going on?
from the end of it.
Yeah, because she's trying to get through the ceiling.
Yeah.
The roof window. What do they call them? Roof
Seamless.
windows. Roof windows. What are roof windows?
Skylight.
Skylight. That was the word. She's trying to get through the skylight. So the only way to do that is to go up on a massive crane, which Ben can drive apparently.
Yeah.
Because he's driving it, but he can't see where he's putting her.
No.
So there's a comedy sequence of her keep getting put down in the wrong place.
To me.
So Nina's saying where she needs to go to Wally. Wally's telling George. George is telling Ben. So it wouldn't have worked without George there. But eventually she gets in through the roof window.
Yeah, she silences the alarm in there, doesn't she?
Yep, she uses like expanding foam on the alarm,
foam, yeah.
which disables it, and then cuts the cables to the alarm as well, which sets the alarm off.
Yeah.
But because she's done that, she didn't really need to do that.
No.
I've just thought about that now because she'd already disabled it. Anyway,
I got really confused
timeline-wise.
as to how this shook out now.
Timeline-wise,
yeah,
same because it was 4:30 in the morning. Right, when they got up, it was 4:30 in the morning. They've gone straight to the funeral home. They find the body's not there, so they've done all of this for nothing.
Yeah,
because
it's mentioned earlier on. To be fair, that it is light at this time of year.
Yes, but why is there a funeral happening at 4:30 in the morning?
Yeah, exactly. That's the bit that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So they're like, well, if the body's not here, it must be at the church.
Yeah,
and they go to the church,
and the funeral. Everyone's starting to gather.
Everybody's in a funeral. There's a funeral going on inside. But it isn't the funeral it's not Skip's body in the coffin. It can be no more than 5:30 in the morning.
Is he like next up or something?
No, it was because the vicar says, he's at the crematorium.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is also not what Rymark said when she says we're burying him 2 days' time. Yeah. But now he's being cremated the next day. But I've written it, they interrupt a very early morning funeral.
Yeah.
It can be no later than 5:30 in the morning. But it's not Skip's, and the bloke's like, can you put my wife down, please? Which I thought was quite funny. And the vicar whispers to him he's at the crematorium.
Right, so he's off to the crematorium then.
Yep. So they go to the crematorium. Again, there's another very early morning funeral going on, which all of the residents of the old people's home are there.
Yeah, shipped them all out.
Yep. So all of this sequence has been completely for naught because Rymark's even there herself.
Even though they're also at the same time looking for Wally who's missing.
Yes.
Because they know the alarm went off.
By all they're doing to look for him is standing out the front of the crematorium going, where's Wally?
Yeah.
They've literally got their hand over their eyes. I can't see him. But I guess they knew he'd turn up when they figured out where he was. So yeah, it was all a bit pointless because he had to go and interrupt the funeral anyway. It's like one of those crematoriums where the body gets lowered through the floor.
It does.
rather than going through a curtain at the back.
And somehow Nina and Ben have got in the back and
underneath the ground.
They're underneath. Yeah,
and Wally rides it down. Area. Wally jumps on the coffin.
He does
and rides it down.
I guess he's creating a distraction because he stops as soon as he spots.
Yeah, he didn't know. I don't think
underneath.
he knew they were underneath there. So I think he was just like.
So at this point, are they just totally freewheeling the plan?
The plan's out the window.
Okay.
Because it was supposed to be in the. I guess the plan was nick the body from the undertakers.
Yeah.
Because
it's 5:30 in the morning and no one's up.
Go to the harbour, try and get a boat.
Yeah.
But what they ended up doing was nicking it from a crematorium in front of everybody.
Whilst the funeral was in progress.
While the funeral was in progress.
At 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah. They get away with it. They do get away with the coffin somehow. Because nobody stops them.
Nina and Ben take it, I think.
Yeah.
But then there's also a dummy. They have a dummy distraction car and coffin as well, don't they? Yeah,
because Wally's in that, I think. Anyway,
which must have been pre-planned.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hang together at all.
Doesn't hold together. Nobody was ever supposed to scrutinise it like this.
No, I know. But
it doesn't hold together. But they eventually
doesn't hold together even if you're not scrutinising it.
No, it doesn't. They eventually go to a funeral somewhere else.
So they're having a secret wake, basically.
Secret wake. And Nina sings a beautiful sea shanty song here.
Oh, it's beautiful for the start.
Incredible. Their voice, I meant, is incredible.
Yes, it's a version of What Do We Do with the Drunken Sailor.
Yeah.
But then she sings it lovely. It's a really nice version.
Yeah.
Until she starts going all Scatman John over it.
Yeah, she did go a bit weird.
Like Spirit of Jazz.
Her voice was incredible, I thought. I thought she was really good. But yeah, you're right. It was really weird.
And this really confused me as well. So Rymark and the police find this dummy vehicle.
Yeah.
And coffin.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's in there.
Yeah.
They take it back to the church.
Yeah, they go to the church this time.
Open the coffin up.
Yeah.
And it's that horny lady from the old people's home.
Just lying in the coffin.
Who says to them, oh, they're all at the town hall.
Yeah. So she gives the game away.
Yeah. Well, she does. But then in the next scene, she at the dance hall, she says, oh, everyone's at the wake at the dance hall.
Yeah.
But the next scene, then Rymark and all these cops are back at the old people's home.
Yeah.
And they're like, where is everyone? And then they get told for a second time by a passerby or something, oh, there's a load of people up at the dance hall.
Yeah. So
they didn't believe the horny lady.
Obviously not, because Rymark was with all the people from the home at the crematorium. And then they've all somehow managed to secretly get away from her and get to this place, whilst also smuggling one of them into a coffin without her seeing any of it.
But then, Rymark and the policeman do go to the dance hall.
Yeah.
And the horny old lady's already there.
There, she's there, yeah. So they didn't take her with her, they just left her in that coffin. It's a mess.
It's the fact that they were told twice, this is where everyone is, and they just ignored it. Decided to not.
Yeah.
It was just odd. It was so odd.
As Rymark's leaving the old people's home, she gets given the committal papers for Wally. So that's all gone through. And she's like, oh, good timing, so I'm just going to go and get him.
I don't know if I might sound like we're nitpicking, but things have got to hang together and make sense.
Yeah. And
I know it's only a comedy, but a fairly light, fluffy movie, but this is so obvious.
It is. It's all over the place. It's almost like it's not in the right order.
A bit.
It's really strange. Ben has a little sing-song now. It's his turn for having a bit of a sing. The baddies find the party. Well, the baddies is the cops and Rymark, basically. But Wally's not there, and nor is the coffin anymore.
Everyone who's not a bit part in this movie has left the wake.
Yes. So all the extras are still there, but everybody else is not. They're at the harbour.
Yeah.
Because they need a boat. And after some reluctance, Nina's uncle reluctantly agrees to use his boat. He's like, yeah, do it if you want. I don't care.
Well, he says, he mentions something about, we need to come up with a deal. Yeah. But we could do something. It'll cost you everything, I think he says. I think that's what he says, to Wally.
The police turn up at the harbour master's office. The harbour master's not completely clueless about what's going on. He's just sitting in his office. The Rymark's there as well.
They're basically like, follow that boat.
Yeah, we have a boat chase scene. So the harbour master gives chase in his boat, and then what was Nina's uncle's name?
Arn.
He starts a book.
Yeah.
On this boat race.
On the cliff.
Between his mates. There's like 4 of them, and he's running a book on. And the odds are all over the shop.
Yeah,
he's shouting odds out.
Yeah, it's basically, will Wally escape or will they get caught?
Yeah, at one point it's 10-1 that he gets caught. I was like, I'll have some of that money because he's definitely getting caught in a minute. And he did. That was a really weird scene. So they do. The harbour master catches up with them.
Yeah.
They think the game's up. They think they've been caught. Rymark's boasting about how happy she is that they've been caught. And then they get a distress call. So they're the harbour master, so they have to answer a distress call.
It's like, right, we're off.
We're going. So they take Rymark, leave Wally and everybody else on the ship, and go and answer this distress call. And when they find out the distress call, it's Ben on his windsurfing gear with his wetsuit on. And even though he didn't have a wetsuit on a minute ago.
Hello, guys.
All right, mate. Is it his brother?
Yeah, it's the harbour master's brother.
Harbour master's brother. So Rymark's like, damn it, I've been foiled by these pesky old people. And then they just drop Skip's coffin overboard.
Do the burial.
There's a few emotional goodbyes for Wally because he's not coming back. I don't know where he's going, but he's not coming back. And the film ends. That's basically what happens.
I thought that they really whiffed on the funeral.
Yeah, completely.
I was like, oh shit, yeah, we've got to bury this guy.
Just literally just chuck him overboard.
There was no chance for any of the actors to do any emoting or the event that this whole movie has been about.
No.
It's
the whole thing totally leads up to the final 20 seconds of the film.
And then, they all just say goodbye to anyone.
Yeah, and George says goodbye to Wally. Wally says goodbye to May.
And Wally sails off. So he's got the boat as part of this deal.
Yeah, he's taken the boat.
So he's got the whole boat. Which I presume is when Arn said it'll cost you everything.
Yeah.
That he means...
The 100 grand maybe that he had?
Yeah.
Surely 100 grand. If 100 grand is what it costs to...
Nice boat.
It's a bargain for a boat if it costs 100 grand for his burial at sea. And it also for that boat. Because George and Nina and May get off the boat onto a little speedboat and go back to land.
Yeah.
But Wally just sails off into the distance in not his boat.
And then another really inappropriate song, like over the credits, is a real mournful, like sad
sea shanty type song, isn't it? But
that again didn't fit with what I've just watched.
No,
because there's no emotion at the end of the movie.
About mermaids, wasn't it? Yeah. It was a song about mermaids or something.
Like if it had been a touching ending, emotional ending to the movie, I could have bought it, but it wasn't because you didn't get any of that.
It's a real mess. What did you think of it overall?
It's just a mess.
It is. It's just a complete.
It raised a couple of smiles from me. Don't get me wrong.
You can see why. You can see there was a lot of production issues with the film, and you can see why it took 7 years for anybody to think about releasing it.
I didn't like. Yeah, it does explain a lot. Well, that whole checkered history explains why this is in the shape it's in.
Yeah, it's just a hot mess.
Yeah, I think there's a nice idea in here. It just doesn't work, and I think we can understand why that is.
Yeah,
I thought James Fox was good. I think Lauren Bacall clearly still had presence.
She had a massive screen. She didn't have a lot to do.
She's way above. She's way classier than anyone else in this.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Brian Cox, I thought it fell flat. I thought he was clearly supposed to be. This is clearly supposed to be his show. He's supposed to be the scene stealer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's entirely his fault though. I just think Wally was a pretty bad character, and it's supposed to be the quirky, lovable rogue, and I don't think that's how it came across.
No.
But I think that's the edit. It just came across like a ungrateful shit stirrer, basically.
Lauren Bacall only made one film after this.
Okay.
Before she died. And so I'm really happy that this isn't the film that she went out on, to be honest. But then that film looks just as bad, so who knows. But
this is a mess. It's actually a lot of...
It has a charm.
A little bit, yeah.
It does have a charm. Brian Cox
setting's lovely.
Cox is funny in it.
He's funny, but it's not a lovable character, which is what it's supposed to be, I think.
I feel like if my mum and dad watched this my mum especially watched this on a Sunday afternoon, she'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's that sort of film. But it doesn't hold up to any sort of scrutiny.
No, because I think you'd watch it and you go, oh yeah, that's fine.
As a story,
it's a bit ropey, but yeah, I get it. But then if you stop and think about it, at any level,
it doesn't work.
You go, oh, fuck, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And what happens to that will? How does she know about that? It doesn't tie up whatsoever.
No, but it does have a certain charm to it.
I mean, yeah, a little charm.
Yeah.
I think it's similar in many ways to our Indonesian horror comedy from last week.
Wow.
They're both just weird little curiosity of a pair of movies.
Yeah, they're very,
one
started off very strange this season.
Yeah, one because it just doesn't translate very well to this part of the world, and one because it's clearly just a mess of a movie that had a lot of production problems, and they've tried to salvage something from it.
Yeah,
and this is what
you've got. You've got a film that it ties together, but any sort of scrutiny undoes all those knots because it just doesn't hold up. That being said, what's the best thing about it?
It looks really pretty. Norway is a beautiful country.
Norway is a beautiful country. I think the chemistry between the three leads played their parts well, and their chemistry is quite good between the three of them. It's just a shame about everything else.
It's Lauren Bacall, isn't it?
Yeah,
she's just classy, and
she plays a classy old American lady.
Yeah,
what she was at that point in her life. James Fox is a classy an English gentleman. That's what he was. Same thing he always
plays. Yeah,
and Brian Cox is a character actor playing a really good character. Yeah, they're all doing what they do best.
Yeah.
It's just a shame about everything that's going on around them.
Yeah.
And that song from Nina was really pretty until she messed it up. I don't know what she was doing.
Until she went with the scat.
Yeah, it was really weird. What would you change about it?
It needs a proper rewrite.
It does. It needs a proper rewrite and re-editing together.
Like I said at the start, I think that as a play, as like a farce, I'm sure it's really good. And I wonder what that guy thinks of this movie. How this ended up being released. Yeah. What does he think of my nice little theatre play turned into this messy, half-finished movie?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the tone of the play is, how it's played out. But like you said, it's got to be with somebody like Eric Sykes in the lead role. It's got to be farce, hasn't it?
It also reminds me a lot of a book that I read a few years ago, which I think was turned into a movie. Actually, it's Swedish. It's the 100-year-old man who climbed out of a window and disappeared.
Okay,
and it's a really good book actually.
I've never heard of that.
And it kind of reminded me of this because that Wally character was kind of what I remember that character being in that book.
I've never heard of that. I'll check that out.
It's
weird.
It's weird. It's clearly a film was released. A film was not made. Finished.
No,
but it was cobbled together with what was available.
And
that happens sometimes. We see weird stuff like that.
Yeah, we've more often than you would imagine.
Yeah,
it's bizarre. Here's the big question of the week.
Okay,
is it better or worse than Target?
Yeah, I mean,
because we need to start building a stream table here.
Yeah, we do.
I think these two towards the end will be both in the bottom half of the stream table. I hope they will. It's really difficult to say which side of them it goes.
Yeah, because like I say, they're both odd for very different reasons.
Yeah,
I think by way of its charm and the better performances, I'm leaning towards this one.
Same. I would agree. I think I had a better time with this.
Yeah,
it's an easier watch. It's more fun.
It's a new table topper.
Yeah, top of the stream. For how long, we don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is better than Target. So our early stream table deliberations are always easier. Yeah,
and I would repeat something I said last week. Without this show, there's no way I would watch this. And the backstory behind this movie that you went through at the start of this episode is actually the best thing about this movie.
It's quite interesting.
And that has really intrigued me. And it always intrigues me how, when a project like this just ends up going wrong and this is what was rescued.
And then how does it end up on Netflix?
Yeah.
This little cheap British Norwegian film that's made no money. Lost somebody a heck of a lot. Lost 3 people a heck of a lot of money. How has Netflix gone, there's a Lauren Bacall film there. It's not on any streaming service. Let's have it.
Yeah.
Or Has it come in a job lot with something else? Or you just don't know, do you? It's fascinating, really. That being said, shall we pick next week's film?
Yes, please.
What would you like from can't speak, next week? I'm going to say Netflix. What would you like from Netflix next week?
I would after 2 very strange weeks, I'd like something that makes sense.
Okay.
Like an actual movie.
We want an actual movie. Let's see what Robin can come up with then, shall we? I'm going to press the button. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. It's picked a film called The Parts You Lose.
Okay.
Do you have any ideas?
No idea. I'm a bit scared it's another like body horror thing.
Is that what you're thinking?
But maybe I'm stuck in from what we saw last season.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find a synopsis for you. Bear with me 1 second. The Parts You Lose was released in 2019. Do you want the synopsis? Wesley is a young deaf boy who is constantly bullied at school. On a cold day, Wesley finds an unconscious bleeding man and brings him to an abandoned farm close to his home. They develop a friendly relationship as the man teaches him how to stand up against bullies. However, after police forces increase in the town, Wesley discovers he may not be able to protect his new friend.
Oh.
Do you want to know who's in it?
Yes. Please.
Aaron Paul's in it.
Oh, awesome.
Of course he is. Scoots McNairy's in it.
Okay.
And Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Sweet.
So, quite a decent cast, to be fair.
That's not bad. I've never heard of this in my life.
Nor have I. I love Aaron Paul as well, so it would be really interesting to see. I wonder if it got maybe lost during the pandemic, right towards the beginning of the pandemic.
So we've gone
2019.
James Fox, Brian Cox, Lauren Bacall, Aaron Paul.
Yep, so next week we need somebody who rhymes with Scoot McNairy. Let's keep this going. I like it. So yeah, go out and watch The Parts You Lose. And in the meantime, check us out on Instagram, Twitter and Letterboxd. The username is @BOTS_podcast. If you want to drop us an email, our email address is bottomofthestream@gmail.com. And our website is bottomofthestream.com. On the website, you'll find every episode we've ever recorded. You'll find all the stream tables. And you will even find some merch if you want to buy a Bottom of the Stream.
Flip top bin.
Flip top bin. Nice. Okay, that's random though. That's come from. I like it, but it's random. After you've done all that, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/bottomofthestream. To support the show for a few quid every month, you will get early access to episodes. You'll get bonus episodes. You will get a newsletter that Nick writes every month. And if you come in at the top level, you will get a wild card, which means you can pick the film that we watch the following week.
Yeah.
And after you've done all of that, head over to Discord. The Discord link will be in the bottom of the show notes.
It will indeed. As we mentioned in the wave this week.
Yeah.
Definitely get yourself over to Discord. So
this is the time to join.
You can help out and contribute to one of our new features.
Yes.
As yet to be named.
Yeah. Naming the new feature might be the first subject of the new feature. Find
out
next week.
Also, if you've got a few minutes spare, please consider leaving us a review or a rating anywhere you can review or rate podcasts. It really helps. It means more people know about us. We can be in more people's ears.
I like being in people's ears.
In front of their eyes. That's where we want to be. Spread the word, people.
Tell your mom. What do I say now? I think I'm done.
I think we just wrap it up.
I think we just wrap it up now.
Say, come back next time.
Come back next week, and we will talk to you on Monday about The Wave, which is full of Netflix news and all sorts of cool stuff. And then next Thursday to talk about The Parts You Lose.
Cheers.
Bye.